Welcome everybody to the Mind, Body, and Soul TV on this beautiful Friday evening. Welcome everybody. If you're tuning into, we are of course on YouTube Live as well as Hangouts and at consciousevolutionmedia.com. We are streaming this show on every show on our network. And I am your host, as usual, Coach Steve Toth, and we have a fantastic guest with us this evening, Dr. Rosie Kuhn, who's joining us from a beautiful place called Washington, the state of Washington. And Dr. Rosie is a thought leader, a coach, and also a facilitator, I believe, for leadership. And welcome to the show, Dr. Rosie. It's good to have you.
Thank you, Steve. It's nice to be back.
Yeah. It's awesome. And our theme for this evening is a very interesting theme, actually. It's interesting because for two reasons, because it is interesting. And number two, because we have actually never had this theme ever on the network. And the theme is about spiritual bypass and arrogance. So I'm going to turn to the expert, and that would be Dr. Rosie, that is going to explain to us what she means by spiritual bypass, and I'll add to it, of course, from my own experience, and what she means by spiritual bypass and arrogance.
And spiritual arrogance. Well, the first question that comes to mind is, does this make me spiritually arrogant to be talking about spiritual arrogance?
Yes, it does. Next.
I asked my own hard question, yes. So, one of the things I love about David Hawkins, who's one of my delightful teachers, I think, though he's no longer on the planet, is he says to really be living a spiritual path, there's two basic elements of that. One is faith. The other is humility. So I think that's awesome, because if an individual is thinking about, oh, aren't I great because I do this and this and this that's considered spiritual, it's a way of looking. It's an egoic element that doesn't contribute to that sense of humility and that place of being in the truth that we have no power, we have no control. We're part of this evolving evolution of consciousness. So an individual who says, oh, aren't I great because I went to India and studied with gurus, or aren't I great because I do a particular mantra that's 400 minutes long, or aren't I great because I sit and teach 4,000 people, 4 seems to be the number today, that, oh, aren't I great, is actually not in alignment with a sense of what spirituality really is this place of living in faith and letting go of anything that has to do with my egoic position.
Yeah, so, yeah, all the stuff that you explained, I've done all that.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Okay. I did this, and I had this guru, and I had that guru, and blah, 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 and I've been doing this for...
We're recovering.
Decades and decades and decades. Okay, so, yeah. So faith. Talk a little bit more about faith. If we could take that to just a little bit deeper level. What do you mean by faith?
Faith is that I'm willing to give up my position or my perspectives that has me think that I'm in control, or that I have the answers, or that I know what's going to happen. So faith is letting go, in the 12 steps, letting go, letting God, surrendering my existence. David Hawkins says, surrender your existence and all the expressions of that to God. And that level of letting go of your will, letting go and allowing what is, that to me is that place of faith. You're taking the leap of faith to let go of what you think is true, true in terms of here's the way it is, and let it be what it is, whatever that means. So that place of faith is, it takes us from that place of I don't know, and the being in the unknown, which is I think the most frightening thing for any human being, is to be stepping into the unknown. And we do it every single day, but we pretend that we know what's going to happen. And I know that you've spoken about this a number of times, is waking up in the morning and just allowing the day to unfold without a sense of needing to control how it's done, who does what, judging and assessing how people are doing it right, wrong, good or bad. And the isness of that is the practice.
Yeah. And I've also been speaking about recently, because what I do on the shows obviously is sharing my own experience of my own evolution,
Yes.
which is ongoing and continuous and infinite. And a few months ago, I had quite a bit of a breakthrough, and I think I spoke about this too. So when you're referring to God, the realization that I had, and this could make me very arrogant, but I'm going to take the leap. So when you're talking about God, and when anybody else is talking about God, we're talking about something outside of us, okay?
Yeah.
And how I came to this realization to begin with. So I'm going to back up for a second. How I came to this realization that I want to share with you and with the viewers is that I am. I let go of the I, and I allowed the I am. And who is the I am? The I am is the programmer and the program and God itself.
Yes.
So I am no longer looking for somebody out there, to save me, to pray to.
Yeah.
I had this realization that I am creating it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm willing to be responsible for all of it.
Yes.
Anything that shows up in my life, I'm willing to be responsible for. And how this came about, and I think that this could be like a requirement, and also a requirement to break out of spiritual bypass and arrogance, because I feel that I have been guilty of that. So what we're talking about today is perfect. So how I broken out of that is that I was willing to be with and to allow the darkest version of me.
Uh-huh.
Okay, because I noticed that I've done all that stuff that a lot of other people do. I just want to talk about the good stuff.
Yes.
And not talk about anything. So we've been talking about this stuff for quite a while now on the shows, because how this also came about is addressing duality. So,
yes.
I noticed within myself that I have been to a point where, and this is where I got kind of stuck. It's like I got stuck in wanting to be feeling good all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And also, for willing to feel good, I was also willing to ignore not feeling good.
That's right.
And cover it up.
Yes, that's the bypass.
Oh, that's the bypass, right?
Yes.
And I did have some people around me that were masters of that.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of picked that up. Some of it I picked up from them, and some of it I created on my own.
Sure.
Because it was good.
It was very good.
It's like a drug,
Totally.
Hey, I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is, matter of fact, I did also a meditation. In order for me to really get to this, I did like a 45-minute meditation for like 18 times. And the meditation was all about integrating the light and the darkness within me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not like you get to do that during the meditation, but you get to do it. What comes up the next day?
Yeah.
And the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And
yes.
It was absolutely amazing, and it's still amazing, and I still go to that meditation when I feel like it and do it. And I think it's probably going to be an ongoing thing. It's not something that I'll ever stop. But that's how this all came about for me, and that's how I noticed that oh my God, I am able to now elevate myself above duality, which is something I've been talking about for years. Like, how the heck?
It's something that we talk about, and it's very
Yeah.
difficult to actually live the direct experience of that, because it means that you have to be willing to go through the turbulence, if you will, of the not knowing. You know, it's like when the captain says, "Put on your seatbelt," sign, we're going to be going through some turbulence. You know, you kind of hold on, and you don't know how long that turbulence, how bumpy it's going to be. You don't know the quality of that experience. And so most of us go, I don't think I'll go there. I think I'll take the bus, or
But hang on. But here's the funny stuff. We think, and I thought this because I used to fly a lot. We think that we give up control to the pilots. Guess what I know today to be true for me?
But
We never give up control to the pilot. We're in control because that experience is our experience. We create it.
That's right. That's right. So what a lot of people do is we just assume we're going to have a smooth flight. You know, our life is supposed to be smooth and happy and great. And in terms of what spirituality is, if you are walking a spiritual walk, then we think that we should see light and love and grace and generosity and abundance. And if I'm feeling angry or upset, I just say, that's not spiritual. That's not spiritual.
Oh, let's cover that up. Let's cover it up with some light. So it's like have the light, but not the heat.
That's right. But that orientation that says spirituality is light and love, it doesn't recognize and acknowledge that the universal energies include hate and rage and despair and violence. That the universal energies is all of that. That all of that is sacred and divine. And we go, no, that can't be, because this person is hateful and they're doing bad things. It's like, well, the energy itself, the quality of the experience of hate or anger or beauty, it doesn't matter. It's just a vibration in the universe. It's what we do with that hate, with that anger, with that violence, that makes it what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the realization that one doesn't exist without the other, and vice versa. So I noticed that the times that I get myself into trouble is when I'm experiencing the duality nature of life and I take sides. Yes. As soon as I take sides, I am already in trouble.
Yes. Beautiful.
So that's where this thing came, this beautiful word, and I love this word with all my heart, the word allowance. To allow for all the experiences, and don't resist anything, just allow the experience, because that's why we're here.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So how do we get people to begin to allow, you know, and this is the work I'm doing right now, basically in my coaching practice, whether I'm doing it in leadership or training or executive coaching or with people individually, is my job is to empower them to empower themselves, to allow, to be in the direct experience of who they are and what is, so they can be with what is, without, and they're learning how to look at and notice the judgments and the self-deprecating ideas and the self-hate and the lack of self-appreciation, and the elevating themselves based on somebody else's, you know, perspective of what they should be or what you should be if you're spiritual. And those conversations and these conversations, like, well, how do I be me without having to compare myself with what's happening over here? Either way.
By acknowledging and experiencing who me is.
That's right. That's right. And given full permission to say, here's what is. Here's what my life looks like. Here's a woman that I'm working with. She's training with me as a transformational coach, and she's been training with another program in health coaching. And she goes, they're telling me that I need to do these 15 steps that are all proven and researched. This is going to help me be a better coach in terms of marketing in my business. She says, none of that fits in with my integrity. And I've been struggling with how to do what I'm told to do when it doesn't fit into my integrity. And this is what happens to us probably 98% of most of our lives, is we're trying to fit in when it doesn't align with our highest truth and our highest good. And so given the exposure to these kinds of videos, and given to the exposure to this level of awareness, that people go, oh, okay, so maybe it is okay to be me. Maybe it is okay to not do what everyone tells me I should do, or how I should be to be spiritual. It's a very challenging place.
Yeah, no doubt. And what gets interesting is that, and how this gets interesting is, there's a lot of people doing what you and I do, and attempting to teach this stuff from our own experiences, right? Because I don't teach this from books. Matter of fact, I haven't written one book yet. I'm in the process of making a movie, but I don't think I'll ever write a book, because that's just not me.
Right.
And what's interesting to me is that there's a lot of people in our business that writes all kinds of books, or they do all kinds of videos, do all kinds of programs, and they don't get it themselves. And they telling people, what to do.
Yes.
And people, because of their name, or the authority, or the authority figure, or the success that they are claiming,
the publishing company that's publishing them, or whatever. Yes.
Yeah. All of a sudden, people just go, "Oh, okay, we'll just do that." But I personally, and I think you just said that, the same thing I'm going to say is, this is to the viewers out there, don't ever do anything that doesn't resonate with you, who you really are, because that's the screen. That's the screener, is who you are.
Yeah.
I'm not following anybody out there. I'm following myself.
Yeah. I've written 10 books now. I've got 10 books published, and I like to think that the majority of what I write talks about universal experiences, universal human experiences, and the evolving of us. And to me, that's a good thing, because it relates to what we do in our humanness, rather than saying, here's how to do it, or here's how it should look. It's just my experience of communicating or reflecting what I think is mostly human and universally experienced by most of us. And if nothing else, it gives people an opportunity to question, well, is that true? Is what Rosie says, or is what Steve says, or is what Deepak says, is that true for me?
Yeah,
and
question everything.
Yes. So it's really just that matter of what is true for me. I grew up Catholic, and it was so challenging to question what's true for me in a reality that says, if you question the church, that's a sin. You're going to go to hell. And it's like, well,
well, I grew up as a communist.
Yes.
And if you challenge the communist, you die.
That's right. So it's like we're trained to not question, but there's a point in everyone's unfolding. There's a point in everyone's life, whether it's that midlife crisis, the diagnosis of cancer, the marriage dying, the getting fired. There's some point where we question, what do I want to do, and how do I want to do it? What's really true for me? And it's just a point where it's people call it a spiritual emergence process or a spiritual crisis. It doesn't matter what you call it. There's a point where we question the reality that we're living within, and begin to potentially choose differently.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to say, David Hawkins talks about levels of consciousness. His books, Transcending Levels of Consciousness or Power versus Force, talk about these different specific levels of consciousness, from shame and guilt and apathy and pride, and all the way up through courage, which is where we start to question our fears and the foundations of our fears, and move to higher and higher levels of consciousness. One of the things I loved about what he says is that, so for instance, you and I are talking, and we want everyone to say, that makes sense, and that's the way I'm going to go. But most of us are in our cones of whatever level of consciousness that we're in, and we can't take in anything but what's in this level of consciousness. So that people who are teaching or writing about a level of spirituality that you and I have gone beyond. We've been there, like you say, we've been here, but we've moved on. But other people are coming through that level, and this is a place where they can resonate, and they go, "Thank God I've gotten here. This is a good thing." And we want to create a consciousness that says, "And there's more, and there's more," and the excitement, and stay curious, and stay true to your own course.
Yeah, absolutely.
And watch that ego that says, "Aren't I great?" I love that feeling.
Aren't I great and powerful?
Aren't I great and powerful?
But so here's the thing. The other thing I wanted to just touch on, because it's related to spiritual bypass and arrogance, is I noticed, and I've been talking about the game for years. I think I could probably go back and look at the archives of our shows, go back easily 6 to 8 years ago, or maybe even more, that I've been talking about, at least 4 for sure, or 5.
Okay.
Not that it matters that much. But I've been talking about games, that everything is a game. Like, I noticed that the educational industry is a game. The government is a game. Everything around us, the commercial television industry is a game. Everything. I don't care what you touch. The real estate game, the finance game, everything is a game. But it did not, with rules.
Yeah.
And I talked about, if you don't play by those rules, you don't win the game.
That's right.
And I didn't realize, I mean, I talked about it, but I didn't put it into practice in my own life, you know? Isn't that interesting? I've been aware of it, talking about it, but when it came to my own life, I didn't follow my own rules and my own conversations about the game.
Yes.
So I become a pawn of the game, and sometimes unknowingly, sometimes knowingly. And one day I just realized, you know, I feel what I want in my life now is I want to know how to play the game, because I don't want to be a pawn anymore.
Okay.
And guess where I went with that, especially in the finance industry where I work, is allowance. I have allowed all the experiences that I was experiencing, and I was able to play the game the way the game was designed, and I am starting to win. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Somebody even told me in one of the groups that I work with, is that when you resist this game, it will eat you and spits you out.
So how is this related to our topic for tonight of spirituality, bypass, and arrogance? How is it related?
How does that relate? It relates because, for example, my issues and my pain was coming from the fact that I was resisting. And so when I know that I'm resisting, I am picking sides and I'm judging.
Okay.
I know that.
Okay. So in a sense, what I'm hearing you say is that any game can be seen as a spiritual path, because if you watch
anything.
So if you're, whether it's family, children, relationship, finances, career, any of it is if you play the game in a sense with integrity, but that's part of the game is, am I in integrity in my resistance or my non-resistance?
And am I playing by the rules of the game?
Yes.
Because it's actually, it turns out from my own experience, is playing by the rules is not a big deal. See, and you know this, that I grew up in a communist country. Well, what I became a master of is not playing by the game. And to be against something. Well, how well did that work out? Well, in a way, it worked out really well because I'm here.
Yes.
So, but guess what? If I would have continued there doing what I did, I would be probably dead a long time ago.
Right.
I would have been taken out. So, and that was not part of my design,
Yeah.
obviously. What I did is what's part of my design, and none of the stuff that happened to me um, is something that happened to me. It is something that I designed it that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so
How
in a sense,
freeing, how freeing is that? Oh my God, Dr. Rosie, I can't use words to tell you how freeing my journey has been. That
sure.
everything that I've done for a reason.
Yes.
It's my design.
It's you, in a sense, you designed the game,
Mhm.
and then you learn to play the rules, play by the rules that you
Right.
designed. It was like, oh, I forgot that was the rule that I have to tell the truth, or I have to let go of my arrogance, or I have to
Mhm.
be with the dark and the sad and the uncomfortable. I forgot that that's what I came here to do, to play this game well.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
and for me, that's the sort of karmic. For me, karma is a very cool thing. I used to hate that conversation, but I get that karma is about accountability in a sense, like you're saying. I created the game, and so the accountability is I play by the rules of my game that I set up,
Mhm.
and I came here to learn how to do that well. And so when I'm not playing by the rules, things don't work out well. But when I start to play by the rules,
Mhm.
then they work really, really well. But
And
it's a matter of
there's flow. There's
there's
flow.
flow. Yeah.
You'll notice. So when people tell me, or I hear somebody say how difficult their life is, because it's kind of interesting that what's exactly happening in people's reality is perfect, because
Yes.
what you get is what you design.
Yeah.
If you designed the program in a certain way, this is how it's playing out. It's how you're designing it. It's
That's right.
perfect.
Yeah.
That's how powerful we are. So if you're designing your life not to work, then it's not working. Because I've done it.
Yeah.
I've designed my life time to time where it wasn't working at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just didn't know that I was doing it.
That's right. And this is really, it's really, really helpful to get. I mean, there's a lot of good coaches out there, and there's a lot of good teachers out there. And when you're in those places, those challenges where you say, it's not working for me, that there are people to talk to or listen to that says, oh, now I get it, because I set this up so that it's not working, so I can get how to create it to work.
Mhm.
Much like you said, the way that you were talking about how you got to this place of being the creator and creation and created,
Mhm.
all of it.
All of it.
And that place of you were in a place probably not very evolved as you are in this moment, because from that place it's like a gestation period of, and sometimes the not working is very, very uncomfortable when it's not working, and it feels like
Mhm.
angst, and it's hard and it's uncomfortable and sad, or but when you get that there's an energy there, and it's a gestation period for an incubation for something,
Mhm.
that's the sort of what sometimes is considered the dark night of the soul, or the shadow time, or whatever words we put on it that make it sound hard. But we just make it hard because we make it sound hard. If our willingness to just allow it to be, and be in those scary places, incredibly exquisite and incredibly humbling. And we get the enormousness of our game, if you will, when the big game, and what we've created in those moments.
Yeah, right on. So I just want to make sure I say this, just from my experience, that the duality game is a trap. And that's how I experience it. It's an
Yeah.
absolute trap. We get stuck in it. And um, I just watch people all day long, how they get stuck in playing this game.
Yes.
And it's interesting. And at the same time, it's perfect, because that's where they are in the
That's
moment.
where
And
they're at.
I
That's
no
right.
longer want to or need to save them.
That's right.
which is also very freeing, because initially I went into this business doing what I do with broadcasting to save the world, and I no longer need to do that. There's
Yeah.
nothing. The world is perfect just the way it is. There's nothing
Yeah.
to save.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree.
And
But
so,
everybody, like you say, everybody has created their own game, and they're playing out their own game.
oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
even when I have a client and she's making choices that seem really sort of not such good choices, and we were talking after she had this conversation, and she said, "I felt you were judging me," and I said, "Well, in fact, I was judging you." But I had to look at that because in a place of judging, I'm in a place of arrogance, in a sense, like I know better, and you shouldn't do it that way. But when I was able, after the conversation with her, to say, gosh, I was judging her, and she's got her own story. She's got her own movie that's going on for her. She's learning how to be in that. My job as her thinking partner is just to say, so how's that working for you? How is that in alignment with who you are and what you're wanting? Asking her questions that will allow her and support her to find her own way. Without my judgment. But I had, in that moment, it was a moment of, oh, that didn't feel so good. I had to go inside and look at that for myself and say, this is her path, not mine. She's got her own movie going on, or her own game, and it's hers, her unfolding. And my job is just to be a thinking partner and empower her to make the choices that are right for her in the moment, regardless of my arrogance, my
and to
wisdom.
help, and your job is to help ask the questions.
Ask the
to
questions.
Make sure that she's asking the questions.
That's right. That's all my job is.
Yeah.
And that's the element of coaching that I really love, because by asking questions, you're giving people back their power to have answers, their own answers.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think the easiest way to spot or recognize when somebody is living in spiritual bypass and arrogance? What's the easiest way to spot it?
Well, there's a fear that they're going, if they're using any substances whatsoever to qualm any anxiety or any fear, that's a really good sign that they're in bypass. If they're staying in jobs, in marriages, in situations that are uncomfortable or damaging or harmful to them, and that's a bypass, because they're not willing to go into the hard work. I'm doing a workshop in Minnesota called "Who's Running My Business," and so I wrote a blog today about that, and it's like I was kind of talking about it, and for the reader to say, I don't want to think about that. Who's running my business, and here's what's showing up. I don't want to think about that. So anytime that we're in those spaces, ourselves or other people, I don't want to think about it, or resistance that shows up, and let's go watch TV, or let's do a distraction and avoidance or denial. Those are moments of bypass. Now, we all do it, okay? We all do it.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's the degree to which we are committed to our unfolding and allowing and that true spiritual path, the degree to which we are willing to look at that and go, wow, I am uncomfortable in my marriage and I'm not doing anything about it, or I really don't like my work or my job or my environment and I'm not doing anything about it. I'm talking a lot as if I'm something, but I'm not. A client of mine, he started dating this girl, and I said, so what's about her that you like? And he said, she's spiritual. And I went, oh, really? Because now I get to get high and mighty about, what's spiritual? And I said, so what makes her spiritual? And he says, well, she gets daily spiritual things in her email box every day. It's like, wow, that's pretty interesting.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And from his perspective, that's being spiritual. And so there's all different levels and all different ways. And yes, I get emails in my box that are spiritually oriented, and those are great. But what makes someone spiritual, or what makes them say, hey, I'm spiritual, and so I got something to offer? It's all personal. It's all personal.
Yeah. Well, my answer to that for me is that I don't cover up the dark side of me anymore. I face it.
Yeah.
I go right into it as deep as I can.
Yeah.
Because that's all there is to do.
Yeah.
You know, the more I would resist that, the the more I would not feel free.
Yes.
It would have me.
Yeah. Being able to tell the truth and be in the truth of the situation, that's, that's being innocence. Again, you're in a place of, I don't know how to be in the moment. I don't know how to be with what is in the moment, whether it's dark or light. I just got a couple of calls that said, hey, we want you to come and do some workshops. And it's like, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to, and so those, I don't know how places, that place of unknown, and being truthful with yourself to say, okay, let's be in that discomfort, that unknown place. That's the practice.
So the two things that completely drives me crazy, one is when somebody says it's God's will, I go nuts. What do you mean it's God's will? And the other is we prayed on that. We came to this conclusion. Okay. Good luck with that.
But again, that's a place of in their orientation. This is their.
That's where they are. That's where they are, and I got that.
And
I just have to allow for it. I mean, there's nothing I can do or say to change their mind.
Yes.
In the moment, because that's where they are.
Yes. I am a member of this organization called the American Center for the for the Integration of Spiritually Transformative Experiences, and it's a support organization for people who've had spiritually transformative experiences, near-death experiences, numinous experience, or any phenomenon that's been transformative, spiritually transformative. And when I first I was on the board of directors for a while, and the woman said, the Muslims, when they have a near-death experience, they quite often have a Muslim experience on the other side. Judaic people have Judaic experiences. Christians have Christian experiences. They see saints or Jesus or whatever. It's like our orientation is what it is, and it shows up the way it does. And there's that tendency for me to want to assess or have an opinion about things. But the more I know about spiritually transformative experiences and what the information people bring from the other side, it's like, I get that when someone says, we prayed on this and this is what came out of that.
And we will not correct it, but I no longer can do that because I know it's not going anywhere good.
That's right. But in terms of, again, this is their truth, their total truth, and their total fullness that brings them, regardless of our interpretation or our perspective.
At the moment, and the next moment it could change, or next week.
Change. Yeah,
whatever.
I had a moment. I had a moment of a whole day of feeling blessed, and I remember hearing people talk about their lives as being blessed, and I go, "Oh, you're just whatever." But it was like, I totally get that people can live in this place of experiencing blessedness throughout their life because that's their orientation. And I would or could assess that as, oh, that's a bypass. But there are people that actually live in that reality where that is their true nature and their true experience.
Well, but it is just, we can also say, just to refer back to the show previously, is that it's just a program that they have written. That's right. Is all it is.
That's right. And that's the program they're living in until that program becomes just, they don't have a place to if there's an update or an upgrade, if you will, it'll open them to what's next. And quite often,
new features, new functionality.
That's right. But quite often we have these things called human or natural disasters that happen, or human processes that happen that break us through into the next level of awareness or consciousness or faith or trust or humility.
Yeah. So I wanted to say something to how I recognize spiritual bypass and arrogance. And what I came to is overdone niceness is how I experience it.
I like that, yeah.
Where someone is overdone nice, repeatedly, something is superficial and something is off for me.
Yeah. There's a lack of authenticity, would you say?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I would say. Yeah, it's almost like there are things like what that person is telling me. There are things I don't want to deal with,
Hmm.
nor do I want you to know about.
Right. Yep.
And it's okay. And it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And part of having this subject on the show, I think, is just making people aware, like, oh, I do that. Or, oh yeah, I like that arrogance thing.
Yeah.
I've
Well,
wanted I
we
want
do
I
it.
want
We do it too.
I love it when
We're not
people call me
exempt.
I love it when people call me a spiritual teacher. It's like, woohoo, that feels good. But all I know is that I'm just a student on the path. I just am one step at a time, seeing the environment around me, seeing the way that it is in from this perspective. I have no idea of anyone else's perspective. All I can say or ask the question, what's it like? What's it like in your shoes? What's it feel like?
So what do you think, Dr. Rosie? When you're talking about just you and I and the path that we're on, because we've known each other for quite some time now, and I'm experiencing myself to be so different than just even just 2 years ago or 4 years ago. Oh my God, I
Yes.
can't. I'm just I'm experiencing myself as a totally different person.
Yes.
And where are we heading next? Like I have this question, for my own self, like, and I'm to the point where I'm not even interested in concerning myself with where am I going next. I just want to be in whatever the experience is that I'm creating next, just to fully experience it and just to allow it and
Hmm.
just to chuckle. I want to laugh more and more, and I'm experiencing myself laughing more and more because this is, as I experience this life experience, it's very funny.
It's very funny.
And I had Tuesday, we had the Living Consciousness TV show, and there were a couple on the show that were very, very interesting and very knowledgeable about spirituality and about consciousness. But I experienced them hardly ever laughing. They were like so serious and feeling so significant.
Hmm.
And I there are times I wanted to say something about it in the show, and you know what I said? I just said, just allow it, just be
Yes.
with it, just allow it, because there's, if I say something, it's not gonna come out right.
Yeah.
And, it's just not gonna be cool. So I just said, I'm just being with it. It's fine.
Yes. Yes.
But
It's
go ahead.
it's it's just curious, isn't it? I mean, it's just like, wow. So you say this stuff and you're talking about this and you're talking as if it's all true, but where is this aspect of your humanity? Where is this aspect called
Hmm.
humor and playfulness? Where
Yeah.
where is that?
Where is
And
that?
and can and be in a sense for you as a witness to this, going, wow, that's really fascinating. I don't experience that way.
And,
They take
and we
themselves very seriously, and
Yeah,
I think,
yeah, and they even called me on I am, and they called me on what is your I? Could you please show us your I? They called me out on it,
uh-huh.
and I'm going like, so okay, so you're experiencing my limited I right now, because for a moment, when they were asking me about that, I noticed that I was actually spiritually bypassing them. I was being ignorant and arrogant.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I'm going like, why do you want me to answer that question? What do you mean? Could you please present us with your I? My I, as far as I can tell, is my ego, and I'm still going in and out of that experience, and I don't
Sure.
think that's ever going to change.
That's right.
But that's not who I am. Who I am is the I am. I am all of it.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
right now you're experiencing my limited I, basically I
That's
didn't
right.
want to say you're experiencing my ego, because that's really where I am right now. But
Yeah.
it was just fascinating to me, really
Yeah.
fascinating.
And the element of our ego is only I I the ego is just this part of us that's been with us as long as we've been through lifetimes. And it's the part that has wanted to stay safe and survive. And so it creates facades and personas that says, hey, I'm significant here. Pay attention to me. And it just wants to stay alive. And it's so terrified of dying that it'll do whatever it can do to stay alive. So when we get, oh, that's the part that's afraid, who cares about that? You know, we're okay. Then we can go on to just laughing, you know, laughing for, and Osho is all about laughing, you know.
You talk about, Dr. Rosie, you talk about arrogance. Many years ago, I used to like go into meetings and there were like 10, 15, sometimes 20 people in the meeting and they were waiting for me. And they said, when I walked in, they said, you're late. And my response was back then, talk about arrogance. The meeting doesn't start until I get here. That's so funny today, but I get it. I get it. I mean, oh my God, that I said that. Oh my God, you talk about ego. And this is going back probably, I don't know, 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah. And what I find happens is the cultivation of compassion in a sense, and I don't even have to cultivate it. As I be with the resistance and allow for what's the unfolding, then what happens, there's a compassion for those people that are arrogant or doing bypasses or whatever we're doing, and for myself at whatever level, because all of those are strategies to try to avoid our pain and the suffering that's going on inside of us that's being ignored and distracted from. So it's like all of us, it just gives us an opportunity to go, wow, you must be really scared in there to be that arrogant.
We want to avoid the pain at all costs. And it's exactly, you know, when you asked me earlier, this doesn't come to me, but it's coming to me right now. What people need to do is exactly that, is to willing to be with the pain. That's exactly right. What they need to do.
That's right.
What they're running from, or what I'm running from.
That's right.
Need to go in and face it.
A friend of mine and a client, he was in a situation, and he's got this amazing, wonderful facade of greatness, which he's great, but the facade of greatness is his armor. Even as great as he is, he's got this armor of,
and he's a master.
Greatness.
He's a master at it. Mm-hmm.
And he found himself in a situation that was untenable. It was impossible. And the only thing he could do was get clean with the person that had hired him to do his job, the job that he had to come clean. And what that meant was, in a sense, that place of really being with the pain that was inside of him for so long, the fear of humiliation. But then he was able to be in a state of truth with this guy to say, look, I love you so much and respect you so much. I have been attempting to do the impossible, to serve because I care about you so much. And now I find myself telling you it's impossible. And rather than it being a destructive, horrible time, it was this place of grace in his life and in the person that he was speaking to. And, you know, that's the best. I couldn't want anything more than for a person to say, I told the truth, in a place of dignity, compassion, and love. If we could,
he also had to allow for the opposite of them, right? Because if he didn't experience the opposite, the love and the grace and none of that would be real either. Like,
so when you say experience the opposite, what do you mean?
Well, what I mean is, like his facade, what he does, that's there because there's something he's not willing to face, or a pain he's not willing to feel, right?
Yes, which was the humiliation.
Yeah, but that is the pill. And once we're willing to do that, once we're willing to experience that and be with the pain, which is our dark side, then there's freedom.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
We no longer have to get stuck and be trapped in these situations. Because what I find funny is that these things that we are resisting, they come in all shapes and formats and it comes in all weird ways at us. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes,
This
totally.
like I want to use the word disguised, you know,
Yes.
but the core of it is the same.
It's like we could marry somebody. We go, this is the perfect partner. He is like the most, or she is the most wonderful person I have
Mhm.
ever met. And then 2 years, 20 years down the road, it's like, oh my
Oh
God,
my God, what have I
I
done?
never saw that. How could I have missed that for 30, oh my God, what did I do to myself? And
Uh,
it's like, yeah, no, the disguise, it worked to get you here.
yeah,
So you can
yeah.
now do your work. Have fun. Have
uh,
and for me, coaches that are worth their salt is that worth their salt or whatever is that they can laugh with their clients and go, great job of
oh.
creating this one, high five.
Yeah,
And
it's huge, and the breakthrough will be huge.
the breakthrough will be huge. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's
It's like,
funny.
have fun storming the castle.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about some of the things that you're involved in, Dr. Rosie, and you want people to, check you out further, go to your website, buy your books. Just talk about that a little bit.
Okay. My website is called theparadigmshifts.com. My books are everything from Self-Empowerment 101 to Cultivating Spirituality in Children. 100, and then there's uh, Things I Wish My Mother Had Told Me, If Only My Mother Had Told Me. A number of inspirational, motivational books. You're Transforming When, 101, I forget those 101 things, but there's 101 books that I've written for. I am doing two workshops in Minnesota in August. 10th and 11th and 13th, 14th. One's called Who's Running My Business, which is either for people who are self-employed or thinking about self-employment, or people who work for organizations or companies, and looking at how do we make the choices we make. And that it's not so important what choices you make, it's how you make the choices. Like, how am I making this choice? So that's going to be really fun. And the same weekend, I'm doing the workshop called Deep Recovery, which is looking at that when we manage and cope with create management and coping strategies with our either substance abuses or our emotional substance abuses or addictions, but also how we use emotions or behaviors when we're using coping mechanisms. It's like what we're talking about here is we're not looking at what's the source, the underlying sources of this behavior and the ways that we distract and avoid who we truly are inside, the fullness of that. So this weekend workshop will be talking about and working with and providing skills and tools and practices for actually having those experiences of sourcing into what's the source of all of our strategies and survival mechanisms.
Yeah,
So
fantastic.
that'll be August, and that's in Brainerd, Minnesota. So
Wow.
that's a lot. And two new ebooks up, and then that'll be. There's tons of stuff, but two new ebooks. One's called Parent Like a Guru, and the other one is called Diet Like a Guru.
Oh, fantastic.
So,
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of those.
Yeah,
So
I
I just wanted to bring up a recent experience that I've had. That's, I think it's quite interesting, and how I connected something that I've been ignoring for a long time in my life. So what occurred for me, massages is something that I very much enjoy. And I've had probably hundreds, if not over 1,000. I haven't counted it, but I've had them for years.
Sure.
And I've had a lot of massages, but always by a woman. I
Okay.
never had it by a man. Okay. So a couple of months ago, it occurred to me, why not switch just to have the experience, right? And I had the most exquisite and interesting experience having a massage by a guy. He's a young 24-year-old, but the way he touched me and the way he touches me. So what I connected that to is when I was growing up, my father never touched me, nor he ever hugged me, nor he ever kissed me. He was just one of those guys that's just how he was.
Right.
And I missed that all my life, and I kind of ignored it and put it under the rug. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with this guy, oh my God! And now I just can't get enough of it. I am like scheduled for every 2 weeks to have this massage because he makes me feel so incredible.
Yeah.
And I've had these experiences with him at the beginning where I thought I was in love with him, so I had to like feel that, and
Sure.
I was willing. Then I noticed that I was really in love with myself, and who's giving the massage is me, not him. It's outrageous.
That's right.
And now I'm at a point where, so today I was thinking, well, my massage is not until next Saturday, but guess what? I can't wait until next Saturday. I gotta have it. I gotta have it tomorrow because I do a lot of stuff. I mean, I am like nonstop from 6 o'clock in the morning until usually 10, 11 midnight sometimes. And that's just a way to take care of not just my body, but my soul and my mind. My entire wholeness is I
Yes.
feel that when I'm in that experience, I get to really treat me beautifully.
Hmm.
And it's just an exquisite. I don't even have words for the experience. I really don't. It's beyond. It's beyond words that I know.
Yes. And where if at first it was like a bypass, we'll just use that just because it's like
Mm.
I won't go there.
Right.
It's now okay.
Exactly.
I'm gonna check this out and see what happens. And it comes to a point that you realize it's not about who is doing the massage,
it.
whether it's
Yeah.
male or female, but there's a quality of trust and a
Mm.
quality of just allowing and letting go, and the rest of it is. But that place where you can surrender control, you know, that's the beautiful thing is that place of being able to surrender control. That's that place of I think humility and faith. It goes beyond faith, doesn't it? Because it goes to that place of knowing this is safe for you.
Yeah, and it's a connection. It's not something I can just do with anybody.
Yeah.
I had a connection with this guy from the very beginning. I went on the website and looked. Who did I want to choose? I basically, checked out like 10 or 15 different resumes there at this place, and he used just the right words, and he basically said that the purpose of what I do is to help you to connect to yourself through massage therapy. And he's the only one that said it. And I said, he's talking to me.
That's right.
That's it.
Yeah.
This is it. This is the guy. And the first time I saw him, it's so interesting, the entire experience. And last time he actually hugged me, which is quite unusual, I think. Because I had lots of massages and nobody ever hugged me. So it's like, oh my God, this is so freeing. This is so beautiful.
Yes.
And it's like most of the friends that I have, they refuse to even have a massage by a woman, not along the men. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm going like, dude, you have no idea what you not willing to experience.
That's right.
Is actually costing you.
Yeah. But and it's again, we can talk about in a sense the bypass of because people listening to this can go, oh, he's having a sexual thing going on with this massage therapist, and
yes, I had those thoughts. Yes.
Yeah. but
look, I'm admitting it. I'm admitting it on YouTube Live. Yes. I had those thoughts, but just because I had the thoughts, that doesn't mean I have to act it out.
That's right. But people who go to a female massage or a therapist or male massage, there's going to be sexual conversations in their head one way or another, and the willingness to say, okay, can I do this, and be curious about what shows up, and that's what you're doing is to say, can I be curious about what this experience is going to be, and the way that this fellow, in sense, was the invitation in his resume. Said this is a lovely match, which is great. But your willingness and your courage to explore and experiment, because it could have been a one-time thing, and that's what it was. But you were open to the exploration and the experiment of who am I with a male therapist.
Hmm.
And so
Right.
it could be just, it's like, who am I as a vegetarian as opposed to a meat eater? Or who am I as a finance person versus a coach? You know, who am I? We're just exploring who am I? And there's the big I am that you're talking about, but also who am I? Who am I as I'm having this experience?
Well, I'm all of it. I'm all of it.
I'm all of it. Yeah. And we get to, it's
That's
like
the
when I
answer.
was
And
teaching.
why would I rip myself off to have this experience? That's
That's
crazy.
right.
That's crazy to me.
When I was working on my PhD, I was teaching sailing on the San Francisco Bay, which the waves, the wind is like 25 miles an hour every single day. It's terrifying there. And I'm teaching beginners how to sail in that kind of wind. But it's like, and I'm totally with you in terms of being creation and created. But at the same time, I got that the universe is, at that time, it wants the experience of sailing through me. You know, it wants, this is why I'm doing it. I just kept wanting to get out because it was so uncomfortable in so many ways.
Can I say that it's you that wants to experience yourself as that experience?
You can say that, but I'm saying who I was at that time was saying God or the universal higher or whoever, something greater than myself is wanting me to do this, and it wants the experience to sail through me, not through, because there's 4,000 people sailing on the San Francisco Bay. For me to have this experience kept me having the experience until it was complete, until it was over, until I was done, basically. So I think that's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, sure. So the one more thing I just wanted to mention before we close out is that I also noticed that a lot of people that talk about spirituality and most of the ones that have the spiritual bypass also, and this comes up a lot, this word of oneness. They talk about oneness a lot. But then as you and I witness them being who they are, they actually living in more separation than anything else.
That's right. That's right. And we have that perspective because we were there. We know what it was like to be that separated, and we can know the pain and the suffering that's occurring within them at that level of awareness, because we now have a different level to say, wow, you're really separated from yourself and from your truth. So for us to be able to have that perspective again with compassion and say, wow, I get how hard this is, because I remember how separated I was. And much like you're saying, it's like that's a different person. You have no idea how, like you're saying, even for me to say, wow, I have who I was 2 years ago, just unimaginable that was who I was. So where these people are in their level, in their spiritual growth and their spiritual evolution, it's just where they're at.
Yeah, and there's no right or wrong about it at all.
No,
it is just what it is. It is just what it is, and it's perfect. Everything is perfect just the way it is.
That's right.
All right, awesome. Well, Dr. Rosie, it's always an absolute pleasure to be with you. It's very easy to be with you.
Thank you.
And we certainly you picked a really tough subject. But look, we sailed. You see the connection? We sailed through it.
Good. Nice.
All right. Thank you so much. For everybody else out there, if you liked what you experienced here, if you were moved, touched, and inspired, keep coming back. Keep watching this show and all the other shows that we're doing many times each week, always at 7 p.m., with the exception of one show we just started recently, which is actually a game show. And it's very interesting. I'm certainly it's the first game show we have ever done. And, it's the title of it is The Last Key. So come play with us. And we do that on Sundays at 10 o'clock because it's a way to come home to your own church.
Nice. Is that 10 o'clock? 10 o'clock Eastern, Central?
It's 10 o'clock Mountain, which would be 12 o'clock
Eastern.
Eastern.
Got it.
And the co-host that I do it with, his name is I Am, and you don't get to see his face. He's always turned around. And at some point, he will reveal himself, but for a while, because it's a game show, we'll be playing that way.
Cool.
So that people don't get to like judge, although people still will judge, just the fact that he's not facing the camera.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We're just creating curiosity and all that stuff. So
Awesome. Awesome.
it's a lot of fun, and what we talk about basically is these games and how to become a good player playing these games and get above the duality game. So that's it. Thank you so much, Dr. Rosie.
You're welcome.
Everybody, keep watching. The more you watch our shows, the more they get to be on top 10. If they get to be a top 10 every month, then we publish them, and you get to be on public television as well as on cable television. And who knows what else we'll do next. So thank you so much. Have a great evening, and we'll see you guys on Sundays at 10 o'clock Mountain, 12 o'clock Eastern. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.